I've never been as happy as right now, but shit, I gotta cope with the fact that it dies down. Cause in the end, I just wake up salty, start my day with a pot of black coffee.
Final Fantasy V was released in December of 1992 for the Super Famicom in Japan and a load of other consoles everywhere later on the PlayStation, the Game Boy Advance, even the iPad in 2013 before the Pixel remasters. This is the second game in the series to feature the job system, but unlike Final Fantasy III, the game expands on the system and lets you customize your classes more and more by letting you use abilities between classes. Want a knight who can hit multiple times? Train them as a ranger to get rapid fire and use that on your knight to hit 4 or more times. You can also use this to get passive abilities like more MP or HP or the ability to see hidden paths. Unlike other titles, this game was not originally abandoned for a Western release due to the age of the console like on the NES. There were plans to make this game Final Fantasy III, but was scrapped due to the game apparently not fitting the same tone as the other games, apparently due to its difficulty. There were a few attempts to localize it for a PC port, but this never happened until the PlayStation, leading to the game receiving a full fan translation back in the day. Let's see if this game is really worth the hype to generate its own fan translation in this episode of Final Fantasy Fall. We start the game at this castle, where King Tycoon heads off to check on the wind crystal, despite the wishes of his daughter Lenna. Suddenly, the wind stops and we see the crystal shatter. But enough of that, this is Bart as Quirky Chocobo Companion. Yeah, actually my name is Boko, thank you very much. Say, is that a meteor up there? We go to investigate the impact where we beat up these goblins trying to take Lenna. After that, we find this guy who doesn't really know much about himself except his name is Galoof, and he has a feeling that he needs to go with Lenna to check on the wind shrine. And despite going our separate ways, we end up saving them from an earthquake and decide to join up. The baseline combat in this game is the same as it was in 4, going to the ATB system, but we'll talk more about that as we get into the job system since it's more of the same, and right now as a freelancer it's pretty much just hit things until they die. After some more walking and finding a pirate hideout, we try to steal a ship but are caught by the captain, Ferris, who is a bit more attentive than the other pirates out here. We're tossed in the brig, but after some talking with them, we decide to work together and go to the wind shrine with the help of Sildra, a giant-ass sea serpent. Now with a full party of 4, we find out that the crystal is being supercharged by a machine which caused it to shatter. We ascend the tower and beat down the local goblins and weird snakes, facing off with the first boss, Raid Raptor Wing Raptor, as a super easy fight since we didn't skip any random encounters and made sure to stop attacking it when we go from the defensive, putting that ATB knowledge from the last game to the test. Lenna's dad is most certainly dead though from being blasted by a giant crystal, seeing as he looks kinda like a force ghost, but sweet, we got some jobs from these shards, and what the hell is a blue mage? So, cheaps from the future here. So, apparently the blue mage is stupid busted since it gains magic based on enemies you learn from, but I didn't really mess with it enough to learn that, which sucks because apparently this would have helped a lot during the endgame. Alright, back to the past. We job up and set out to stop the other crystals from shattering to stop the evil that King Tycoon was talking about. We hit the first roadblock pretty quick with this canal being blocked off, so we head to Tull to rest and find out where to go next. I decide to stock up on gear before heading to the tavern and... Humna humna awooga! Boy, what are you on about? Humna humna awooga! Get out, now! After that, we meet up with Zoc, who has the key for the canal but seems to have lost it, but invites us in for the night. That night, he opens up to Bart's about hiding the key, but not before we have a nice little think about our dead father who left to handle an issue with the crystals. We assure him that Lenna's in good hands, and we set off the next day. We pass through, fight some aquatic enemies before fighting this monster trying to sink our ship. It's a pretty easy fight since we trained Lenna enough to use both white and black magic. Sildra gets us free, but we're separated as we float into the ship graveyard. At least there's a spot to heal for free right now. This place is pretty spooky, fitting for the spooky season, full of these ghouls and these slimes and these golems. We then find out that Ferris is actually a girl. Whoa! A girl? Acting like a guy? Total tomboy husbando? We plunder the ship and experiment a bit with classes and end up facing off with the Siren. This is a pretty easy fight, minus being silenced pretty early on. The Siren is an example of the very beautiful sprite work in this entry. I think all the games have pretty good sprite works, even in their originals, but as the devs have worked on these pixel remasters, they've certainly started to look even better. We make our way to the nearby town of Carwin, but the wind's gone, so we don't really have a way to get around since we lost Sildra. We grind up against the local wildlife and get some new gear before going to North Mountain to find the king's Windrake Hiryu. A lot of slugs and flying cats later, and stepping into some poisonous plants, we get ambushed by poachers looking for the drake. This fight isn't even remotely challenging since we have magic and a monk who can focus in for big damage, but he can still hit pretty hard if you let him. We save the drake by feeding him some dragon grass.
Whoa! Since when were there 3 fairies?
Now that we can soar the skies on the Windrake, it's a very short trip to Wales where we get access to more gear and visit the king to warn of amplifying the power of the water crystal. But he only listens after it starts overloading and another meteorite crashing. We go to help and fight through the monsters and these massive frogs. There's also this strange knight at the top, and we have to fight off this Garula trying to destroy the crystal. It's actually just a normal enemy that is an uncommon spawn in other places, but this one definitely has a bit more health. Its rush attacks were a bit powerful and annoying, knocking some party members down, but it seems like bosses don't give EXP, which that's fine. Still give points towards jobs though. The crystal shatters regardless, and this knight seems to know who Galoof is, but doesn't really help too much with the amnesia. We try and grab all the shards that we can before the tower falls into the water, giving us some cool new classes to work with, even Summoner, which feels really early on, but really important later in the game when we get some summons. Sucks that we missed a crystal though. Sildra does save us by boring us for a bit, and then dies after dropping us off on the beach. Now that we have some money, I proceed to blow it all on time magic and some low-level summons to try and use these classes, since Haze seems like it's really good in the ATB games, and I want to see what cool summons we get. The king tells us to head to Karnak to stop this from happening to their fire crystal, since they're also amplifying the crystal with the same technology. We check out the meteorite, which is now opened up, and we find a warp pad that takes us to the meteorite outside Karnak. Something tells me that these things are relevant to the plot, not just 2, or I guess 3 coincidences now. We try out a few new classes and usually swap back since most of these just aren't my style, but we get arrested after buying a cheap knife for being suspicious near the meteorite that a monster came out of. In jail, we meet Sid, who actually created the machine being used on the crystals, made from the ancient texts in the Library of the Ancients, but was jailed when he realized that this could shatter the crystals. However, we are quickly freed after the crystal cracks, and we learn that there's a ship powered by the crystal still straining it. I grind up a little bit and get the remaining gear I need for the next dungeon. We board the ship and enter the engine room, crawling with ghosts that aren't actually ghosts because Cure just heals them, as well as these weird dragons that spawn puppets. I don't really know at this point, man. After some conveyor belts and a moving platform puzzle, we make it to the next boss, Liquid Flame. I wonder what his weakness could be. The crystal is still intact, and we meet this werewolf who seems to know Galoof, but this dickhead over here turns the machine on and overcharges the crystal. The werewolf tries to stop it, but the crystal shatters, and we're put into an escape sequence through the castle. Naturally, in a situation like this, we take as much time as possible to loot the castle before encountering this bounty hunter. He's really easy, just annoying with stun, and didn't really stand much of a chance. The castle explodes, and we gather the shards to get some new classes, including Ninja. We check on Sid, who isn't doing too good with the whole idea of it's all my fault. We explore and check out the Library of the Ancients to look for his grandson, Mid. Kinda like this dungeon. The enemies being in books is kinda cool though, but just not a super interesting dungeon in terms of exploration, except for its mini-boss fight with Ifrit getting us a boss summon. It's not that long before we find Mid and fight Biblios, who is a joke since we have Ifrit, but he can cast Toad, so I guess he could be a pain in the neck. We tell him to talk some sense into his grandpa, and they go and fix up the ship so we can sail again without needing the wind. We finally get Galoof's backstory, learning that he's from another world, coming to protect the crystals from shattering as they are keeping the evil warlock Exdeath sealed away. The meteorites are actually a type of spaceship from the other world. Wait, is that our dad in this cutscene? Sid and Mid leave as we set sail to go find the Earth Crystal and more combat. We're really getting the hang of this, not really sure why this game is considered to be hard. We keep exploring, checking out this cave, but other than some treasure, it kinda seems to be empty. We go check out Crescent Island after that, and an earthquake causes a whirlpool to swallow the ship. Well, I guess since we're stuck here forever, I guess I'll make the most of it. Ooh, Black Chocobo! Let's go! We find 2 crystal shards that blew over here, getting us Bard and Ranger. But also, we can fly now, so we can keep exploring for that damn 4th crystal. I fly around and find this small isolated town. I'm home! Wow, it's been a while. Hey Bart, long time no see. Remember why I traumatized you by abandoning you on that roof? Okay, time to go now. We head back to tell Sid the bad news, but we learn that King Tycoon was spy going into the desert outside Karnak. Wait, so he's not a ghost? Regardless, let's get over there and see what's going on. Sand works like conveyor belts, but we're gonna have to fight a mini-boss to get past the entrance loop. Sandworm is really easy. I kind of forgot that this was a boss encounter, but also the ability to hit hard with Shuriken definitely helped a lot. After about 10 minutes of getting lost in the sands and fighting a ton of random enemies. Sand bears? Any relation to sea bears? Beyond the desert is a town of ruins where we run around looking for the king before facing him at the top. Dad?
Hold up. Are we? Ew, God, you are my brother. I mean sister. Gotta get my mind out of the gutter. This isn't Star Wars.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but agreed? Where am I, guys? We are reunited with Galoof after like 20 seconds, and we explore this underground clockwork type area before suddenly being warped under Crescent Island around where the ship sank. Sid and Mid also end up there where they fall into the ground that just opens up for some reason when we press this button. This area is pretty short, just a segue to get us back to the ship, but now we can fly with it being a boat and an airship. Just gotta clear out this giant crawdad scorpion thing. Something tells me the last crystal's in the giant flying fortress there. Call me crazy, I have a little hunch there. We have to go hunt some adamantite to upgrade the ship to be able to reach it, but we face off with this adamantoise and the meteorite and get back to Sid. Once we're in the sky, we have to fight some small cannons before facing off with the main cannon, the Soul Cannon, and I don't really have much to say, other than I'm an idiot and didn't notice that it's 3 separate parts. I just focused on the cannon in one. I may have been a bit overprepared at this point in the game. We soon reach the king, but have to fight the boss of the ruins, who can change its affinities at will. These types of fights are never hard if you have a good balance of magic users or use the tried and true method of hit it until it dies. We suspect that the king is under the control of someone who's wanting to free Exdeath, but we're interrupted by a meteorite hitting the ruins and a girl popping out of the wall. This is Krill, Galoof's granddaughter, who's a little bit too late since the last crystal shatters, breaking the seal and freeing Exdeath.
Ah, Galoof, it's been a while, old friend. As much as I would love to stay and chat, I have plans back on our home world. These shards will take care of you.
King Tycoon protects the party and passes away, trusting Bartz to take care of his daughters and for Galoof to stop Exdeath. So we do get some more classes, including Samurai. This is going to be super good, but maybe I'll try Dragoon, and, well, no time for that. We need to escape the falling ruins. We get a lore dump from Galoof about Exdeath being sealed by the Dawn Warriors. Sadly, Galoof and Krill decide to depart to their world to seal Exdeath for good. It's a shame we can't go with them since it's likely a one-way trip. We decide that we can't let Galoof go in on this alone, but without a way to reach him, we go visit Sid to see what we can do. But first, we go check a little bit of side content and get some new summons like Shiva and Rama. We then discover that we can recharge the meteorites to channel their energy for a hop to the other world, but each of the other 3 meteorites have some fights, but to give us access to Titan before a portal opens up, and there's no turning back as we finish Act 1, the first of this game's 3-act structure. That's enough falling for me. I'm gonna set up camp so we can rest. This is nice. Damn it. We get ambushed and taken to Exdeath's castle. We then find out that we're gonna be leveraged for him to stop the forces heading to the big bridge, our escape being difficult under the watch of the best character in the game, Gilgamesh. You can leave it to me, boss. No one can escape the master samurai Gilgamesh. Are all samurais like this? I might need to change my career. Hey, I am Exdeath's favorite, so watch your tone. Galoof is not going to let us be prisoners for long, breaking into the castle to do a solo rescue mission. Nothing here is too dangerous and easy access to free healing to get a few levels and face off with Gilgamesh in an epic one-on-one, but he chickens out really fast. His monks have a type advantage on the weakness chart here, like a fire type hitting a grass type. We're saved and we started the escape to the big bridge. The enemies here aren't much stronger than the ones in the castle. Most go down in a single spell or a kick, but we are out of the woods just yet. Not so fast. I got my good gear for this one now. We fight like honorable men. Alright, I'm not gonna go easy, like you said, with honor. Now you're talking. Bushido code and whatnot. He isn't much scarier than he was 10 minutes ago, plus we have a full party now. Alright, time to lock the in. This is a bit scary if he's able to do multiple actions in a single turn and haste himself to keep it up. But we keep the pressure up and he leaves us alone to fight another day with the great samurai Gilgamesh. As someone who likes mythology, it's interesting to see Gilgamesh featured in a story like this. For those who might not know, he's actually named after a hero in Mesopotamian mythology, but as a character he's more inspired by Benkei, a legendary samurai monk from Japanese myth. Origins aside, I think he's a really fun character since despite being a villain, he kinda just wants to fight. He seems like he fights fair. Like, I have a full party and he's just a guy, so it's perfectly fine for him to do multiple things in a turn like that. Kinda like Goku, I guess, in terms of wanting to fight. We nearly make it out, but we're blasted away by the barrier now surrounding Exdeath's castle, leaving Krill by herself. We now have to make a plan to get out of Gloisina. We go to a new shop and stock up and rest at the inn. Bartz and Galoof have a heart-to-heart about us coming to this world, but he tells us that we'll have to work together in order to beat Exdeath. The next morning we head out and find this castle, but I don't think we're supposed to be here just yet. But we do find this forest full of Moogles. Yeah, they're finally back and hopefully here to stay for more than just one space in Final Fantasy III and then gone. We follow him into a cave and fight this big skeleton T-Rex that kicks my ass. You know what, for shits and gigs, let's see if a Phoenix down... Okay then. The Moogle is very grateful and shows us the way to Moogle Village and we get some loot out of it, but also lets Krill know where we are since she understands creatures and Moogles apparently can communicate telepathically. We return to the castle and start planning the next strike on Exdeath. We also find out Galoof is actually a king, which seems like a big thing not to mention when you've regained your memories. The Windrake is sick, however, from using its energy to get us, so we have to get some dragon grass to heal it. On the way, we pass through the werewolf village of Quelb and meet Kelgar, one of the Dawn Warriors who sealed Exdeath. Him and Bart spar and he lets us pass through, but not before mentioning that our father was one of the Dawn Warriors, and he stayed behind and settled down on our world. Now that we are in Drakenville, this should be a cakewalk, and we fight some monsters attacking this golem who's actually been popping up for a few encounters, not here and there. I actually failed this the first time and reset to see what would happen, and he actually gave us the golem summon. This is a really good defensive spell, I make a lot of use of it in the end game. The Ares boss actually isn't that scary since I have Galoof as a monk with kick, so I can keep taking out the flowers every time that the pod spawns and focus everyone else on the pod. We heal up the Windrake and go find the Sage Guido, but the island kinda sinks into the sea, so we're gonna have to try something else. We go to speak to the last of the Dawn Warriors, King Zizat, but he's leading a fleet towards Exdeath's castle. We find them and plan to strike after we rest, but we're suddenly attacked by Exdeath's forces. We fight off the grunts as Zizat fights with his abductor, and we soon rematch Gilgamesh. But we start the fight by stealing his gloves. These will be a nice boost. Hey, no fair. This is my armor. Time to even the score, eh, Enkidu? He's still learning. I was kinda hoping for a solo fight, kinda getting the hang of the samurai thing. Maybe later? Maybe. Enkidu is kind of annoying since he can heal the both of them, but Golem makes this a joke since physical attacks don't practically matter at this point in the fight. I eventually take Enkidu down and wrap up fast since Gilgamesh can't heal anymore. I need a moment. He was the best sidekick I could have ever asked for, and he's gone now. Seeing no better time, we strike while the iron is hot and infiltrate one of the towers, keeping the barrier up under the water with a submarine. This dungeon is nothing special, just a fast run to the top while Zizat prepares to take the generator out. The boss of this tower, though, sucks total ass. Atomos is stupid fast and will spam combat and drag down party members into its maw, removing them fully from the fight. I struggled to beat this fight because it feels like there's no easy way to handle it. My solution kind of felt like the game was railroading me to do this encounter a specific way, but if you can inflict sleep on the boss, you do have a better chance. The main issue is the main way I found to get him to fall asleep was to use Spellblade with the Mystic Knight class. Then I used that time to set up the party and rush him down and hope he keeps falling asleep. Definitely my least favorite boss so far in any of these games. Zizat sacrifices himself knowing that he can't get out with us, and the barrier goes down, opening our way back into Exdeath's castle. I explore a bit and get some more magic. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier in this video is I love the changes made to magic where everyone gets access to spells when they change classes. It's slightly more convenient than it was in Final Fantasy III where you have to move it around if you want to change them. Now that we have access to the submarine, we can try to find Guido, and after a couple easy puzzles and these slightly annoying metamorphs, we meet up with Guido, a turtle. He tells us the origin of Exdeath and how he's heading back to the Forest of Moor for something, and we have to stop him before he does. Guido gives us a branch that lets us traverse the forest and head to the Guardian Tree. There aren't too many things here, just a few chests out of the way and enemies we've mostly seen before, but there are these cool looking worms. Glad Exdeath hasn't set this place on fire. I take back what I said. He torches the forest and we hide underground thanks to our Moogle friend. We explore the burnt forest when the flames clear and gain access to the Guardian Tree, where we have to fight these weird balls of light that are these blob elemental affinities. And
in Epic RPG, we have to collect 4 treasures of the elements. I've never heard that one before.
wait, oh shit, this might be bad. Maybe you should...
Well, thank you for breaking those seals for me. Now with all the crystals, I can harness their power.
Krill shows up and tries to help but gets slapped around. Galoof then powers through to protect her, fighting with Exdeath and enduring his powerful magic and physical hits. He escapes with 3 unshattered crystals and Galoof succumbs to his wounds. He leaves behind his strength and abilities to give to Krill to aid Bartz and the party to stop Exdeath from destroying the other crystals. I sure am glad that I don't have to train another party member from the start again. Once inside the castle, it's fairly normal until we hit a dead end, but Kelgar passes and the power of the Dawn Warriors reveal a path forward, and the true look of Castle Exdeath, it looks sick as hell. We finally have an area where we have to use float, justifying me training up Time Mage. This floor's puzzle's kind of fun. You gotta time it right or you have to fight an enemy. Oh, this thing looks interesting. Oh, that's a creature and it's pretty easy. Just hit it with physical and you get Carbuncle as a summon. Oh, he looks pretty cute. Wow. Guess it's time to spar again? Well, we're not gonna go easy on you.
Good. That's what I like. A good, clean fight.
Fighting Gilgamesh again is nothing special, but I do use the steel ability and... oh, that's a potion. Do I need to reset for the armor drop? He is taking a lot of damage from magic though, so I guess he's built more to withstand physical, but makes sense with him being a samurai and all that. But then he decides to lock in again, doing his equivalent of Super Saiyan, transforming into an 8-armed menace with Excalibur? He isn't playing around anymore. There we go, he dropped the helmet now.
You know, Bartz, maybe you aren't so bad. We can totally keep doing this. Just you and me. It'll be great.
Yeah, if only we weren't supposed to be enemies.
Yeah, I kinda just want to spar, honestly. That's it. I don't need any wacky henchmen anymore. I could do this shit on my own. Ah!
Damn, that frickin' blows. He was such a cool character. Also, where am I supposed to get the rest of this armor set? Time to beat Exdeath's ass for this. He starts the fight by putting a timer on one of the party members where they only have 30 seconds to live and pushes us to the back row after we set up Golem. Thanks. This actually isn't even that hard, but it's likely because I was prepared and came in with the knowledge to haste up the party and just go all out. Also, for some reason the timer went back up. I tried looking online to find an answer, but couldn't really find anything, so I guess this might just be a bug in the Pixel Remaster? No complaint from me though, since we easily would have killed him before the timer hit 0 anyway.
Just as I planned. Beginning Act 3.
The crystals shatter and we wake back up in our world? Huh. The Chancellor is excited to see Lenna and Sarissa. Yeah, okay, I like Ferris as a name more than Sarissa. Gods, I hate this so much. Yeah, something isn't right here. Let's go, Krill. We gotta figure out how we got back here. Well, I guess since we're back, let's go check on Boko, and oh, it seems he's settled down while we were gone. Yeah, I got a wife with kids on the way, but it's okay, Bartz. I was just fine waiting here for you for the last couple weeks, asshole. We explore around for a bit, but we fall into a pit facing off with this antlion before being saved by Ferris. Exploring some more, we find Guido, who explains that the 2 worlds have started merging back together. These 2 worlds were separated to seal the void and the presence of evil Inuo. Oh, that's why Exdeath wanted to share the crystals to restore the world to how it was. He was being literal. The void now exists in an interdimensional rift after being sealed by the people of the old world with 12 legendary weapons.
That's right. I hid as a splinter so I could enact my plan to harness the void.
But you could have just teleported, we would have had the same thought and...
Ah! Silence! Now, time to enter the rift and end this world so I may cease to be.
A rift opens up over the castle and swallows it whole, so I guess Lenna's gone now. We take Guido to the Library of the Ancients to work with the scholars to form a plan to stop the void. Using the knowledge of the sealed tome literally torn apart between worlds to find the tablets to unseal the legendary weapons from that one castle and maybe get a few other powerful things along the way. Our first stop is the shifting desert to that large pyramid where the gargoyles start to attack us to protect the door. We make swift work of them and the book unseals the door inside. The enemies don't really pose a threat, but these snakes run around and he looks familiar. Anyway, we get to the first tablet and the peninsula sinks, revealing that was Bahamut sleeping, and now he's waiting for us back on North Mountain. I'll definitely head back for him later. Walking back to the Guardian Tree, Hiryu drops Lenna off, and surprise, she's possessed by one of Exdeath's henchmen, or I guess henchwoman? Then the library is swallowed by the rift with everyone inside. Hiryu sacrifices himself and we have to fight Melusine. This fight is really easy and it's just for dramatics since Fire God does nearly 5,000 damage. Lenna comes too, but more rifts open up and swallow parts of the world, including Bartz's hometown. We now have access to go to the rift to challenge Exdeath, but we can stay behind and get some better gear and summon since we only have one of the tablets. Like, if we didn't go back to the pirate hideout, we would have missed out on Sildra as a summon, which is gonna be very useful in some upcoming areas. We head to the castle where I get my shit wrecked by Exdeath's soul. I just tried to avoid it since it didn't provide XP, and this feels like I'm not supposed to be here yet. Before I even got through and claimed any weapons, I changed my mind to go back and explore looking for more tablets, finding the Phantom Village and start buying some of the best gear in the game. Next tablet location is this island shrine. After bashing my head a dozen times in the air vents, we face off with the Wendigo, trying to stop us from taking the tablet. This fight has an interesting gimmick. He counters a lot when you go for multi-hitting moves, so you have to figure out which one is the real one to get in a good hit, then guess again since he'll immediately switch. You could sorta look at this fight like a puzzle, but you can't just brute force it using physical to gain access to Fork Tower with the best black and white magic in the game. We get messed up really fast in there, so we decide to go back to the castle to take some weapons for my party, and damn, these aren't upgraded. Look at these stats. Especially this sword again. Okay, second attempt on the tower. So the idea is you need to split the party, since both spells have to be taken at the same time. One tower is physical and the other is magic, so you should split your party where the magic users do the magic tower and the others do the other. I did it slightly wrong, but it was nice and fast, albeit a bit RNG dependent on beating this Minotaur, earning us Flare and Holy for Trill and Lenna to use. We go find Sid and Mid again in the catapult under Crescent, upgrading the ship to be a submarine so we can now traverse most of the world, where I head back to where the water crystal was. That's a scary timer, time to run through in 7 minutes or less. Enemies here aren't special, but if I was going for 100%, I think I need them all for the bestiary. It's a quick rundown and reach the optional boss, Go the Mimic! You need at least a few minutes since the timer doesn't stop and the strategy for this fight is to do nothing, so he can't mimic you if you don't do anything. This earns us the Mimic ability as a class. Yes, I know it's mine, but I'm gonna keep saying the funny Five Nights at Freddy's joke, alright? We warp out and try to see if mine was worth it with Ferris as we tackle the 4th tablet dungeon because I somehow missed the 3rd one. But we'll go back for that in a minute. Mine is pretty good, giving 3 skill slots, but we have to give up attack and items in exchange for Mimic, having to use up skill slots to use them. Mimic copies the last player action, allowing you to repeat actions, but it doesn't let you change targets, sadly. But it can let you cast magic without using MP, so you can spam summons for free if your summoner is also a mime. But this requires a full party with Mimic. We get the tablet, but Exdeath's new goon shows up and immediately gets clapped by Leviathan. We could probably just leave, but I ain't no bitch. We spam Thundaga and Sildra and obtain one of the strongest summons in the game. After a bit more exploring, we find the last tablet dungeon and you know the drill. Then we fight the most annoying boss in this entire game, even more annoying than Atmos. They all have to die at the same time, or they regenerate and petrify a party member, but they each have different affinities. This probably would have been easier if I had big multi-target spells, but we're gonna use the best trick in the book. Cheese. We use Break and a little bit of RNG, and we have all the tablets and access to Meteor. That only took 7 tries. Thanks, RNG gods. For the last little bits of cleanup, we can take the Black Chocobo from the Phantom Village to reach the area where our ship can't land, climb back up the North Mountain, and challenge the Dragon King himself, Bahamut. So we won in just around 2 minutes because we just reflected Atomic Ray and hit him with some of the best magic we have. I was probably supposed to beat him sooner, but we got the best of offensive summon in the game now. On the second to last thing before we get the weapons, we check this 30-floor dungeon, which is super nice for EXP. We even find some magic pots who just want some elixirs, and we reach the top where Hiryu wants to help us and becomes Phoenix for us to summon. Finally, with the worlds merged, we can go back to that weirdly empty cave since now there's a castle near it. The path puts us in the basement that we couldn't access before, and we find Odin, who challenges us to beat him in a minute. This is pretty easy with Bahamut Mimic spam, getting us every summon in the game. What's that, Mr. Krabs? I missed one of the summons. It was only available in the second world. And now it's worse because I'm saying it all into a microphone. Anyway, we stock up on items and unseal the rest of the weapons. We fly into the rift that took Tycoon Castle and find ourselves in a desert. We walk through and fight some enemies and see some monsters that Exdeath has recruited to stop us. Then we're in the Phantom Village, but no one's moving. That's strange. If we keep going, we're in a forest similar to where the Guardian Tree was in Galoof's world. The Rift is a very interesting area since it's an amalgam of areas likely swallowed by the void as we were traveling. First boss is pretty easy. Bahamut doesn't really care about Reflect, and Mimic just makes Bahamut go brr. Now we are in some caves and it's him. This is Omega, the first real super boss of the franchise. While Warmech and Iron Giant were pseudo super bosses, this is the real deal. You need a proper strategy to take him and the second super boss found in this dungeon, Shinryu, on in combat. For the sake of getting the series complete on time, I'm gonna skip these fights, but someday. Thankfully, we can just walk right past him and take on the next boss in this little study. It's kind of just a stronger version of the boss from the Library of the Ancients, but the book he's guarding changes the room outside, taking us to this broken castle path forward. The castle up ahead isn't too spectacular, but there are a couple henchmen you can fight, or just skip them since they're in the cells. But then we get betrayed by this lady who's actually a lackey of Exdeath. She is a bit of a pain in the ass because I was trying to all Mimic, but got hit with Toad and didn't really plan to need items if Lenna went down. Goes down on the second try, and we have to be railroaded into Break spellblading the next mini-boss since he just counters except when he's charging up. Maybe Break as a spell would have worked on him too, but Spellblade just seems to be the more efficient way to do that. Annoying, but doesn't take away from much of my enjoyment. We reach the end of the rift and he's back! Gilgamesh! Hey, long time no see. Didn't think you'd make it this far. Wait, are you working for Exdeath again? I mean, I was kind of hoping to get back in his graces by guarding the void, but honestly, I just want a good fight. We can fight later after you save the world. Also, you can just have my shield. And, you could have the real Excalibur. That'll make our next fight more interesting. You got that, parts. Past him, I have a small heart attack opening a chest and the super boss just popping out, but thankfully I could just run from this fight. Almost to the end, and we get baited by the spot near the end and face the last of Exdeath's peons. We slam into his barrier a lot with non-reflectable magic and still struggling a bit. Not today! This one is mine to fight. Gilgamesh? Here, take the sword back and my armor. We'll meet again, Barts. Promise me, you'll give it your all next time. Exdeath is waiting for us and starts to consume the world, becoming a tree form and blasting us. We aren't gonna take it lying down, and with the strength of the original Dawn Warriors, we face off with Exdeath, and I'm petrified. A few bad attempts later, we make it to Neo Exdeath, and I am the new god. The void will destroy you all, and I can die in peace with everything else. He's just a bit too strong with me trying the all-mimic strategy, topped off with his ability to use strong, unblockable magic and Grand Cross causing random statuses. This isn't gonna be a cakewalk. I had to grind a bit and turned on 4 times experience, and honestly, I like this fight. He's strong, but it's not just about brute strength, it's about strategy. Sure, I could grind to like level 60 and spam Bahamut to hit all 4 segments, but I'm better than that. After getting the party to around level 45 and setting up 2 characters who can rapid fire strong sword strikes while the others heal and cast Bahamut, Neo Exdeath is annihilated and we return to the merge world as the crystals reform and peace is brought to the world. We get some nice little epilogues as the credits roll.
Well, at least I can disappear in peace. Surely I will cease to be, eventually. Well, if it isn't my good friend Exdeath, guess we could spar forever and talk about the meaning of the universe.
This one might just be one of my favorites now. While I didn't really relate that much to the story and didn't connect as much with the characters as I did for Final Fantasy IV and even Final Fantasy II, the mechanics of this game lay a nice foundation since it understands how to make ATB enjoyable and give the player enough customization to play and replay in different ways. When I eventually replay this game later on to do the super bosses, I'm definitely going to be a lot more open to the idea of experimenting with how I build party members and even changing them if I feel it doesn't work. If you're into an RPG with really in-depth mechanics like this, I definitely would recommend Final Fantasy V, even if its story is a bit lacking. I still think you're going to have an amazing time playing it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this around if you enjoyed yourselves and want to see more. Only one more game left in this Final Fantasy fall to wrap up the Pixel Remaster saga, and then I can work on other projects. See you all in the final one. I'll see you guys next time. Well, it seems it's going to be my time before too long. I will see to it that this will be the end.